Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sharmit podcast. Today I'm here with another special guest, Kevin Kreuzer, who is joining us all the way from Switzerland. Kevin is one of the renowned Google developer expert and a passionate Angular specialist who lives and breathes web development. Not only this, he is also deeply involved in Angular ecosystem from creating and maintaining npm packages to coaching developers on advanced Angular techniques. Apart from this, as a frequent speaker at conferences and workshops, he loves sharing his knowledge about building better web application. So today we will dive into Angular best practices, essential tools for developer, and how to grow as a technical professional. But before we proceed further, I would like to thank Kevin again for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us something about yourself.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. As you said, my name is Kevin Kreuzer. I am an Angular developer. I'm also a Google developer expert. I am from Switzerland. I currently work as a freelancer, and together with my colleague Thomas Trajan, we have launched AngularExperts.io, where we provide quite some services. We write some blog posts. We do some workshops. Also, I maintain quite some open sources, and I'm also streaming on Twitch and maintain a YouTube channel.
Okay. Yeah, so as we can see, like there are so many things that in which through which you are contributing to the IT industry. So let's go
Mhm.
one by one. So could you please just start tell us like how you first got into the web development domain and what led you to specialize into Angular?
Yeah, so this is actually a pretty interesting story because most people start with JavaScript and then choose some framework like either
Yes.
React, Solid, or Angular. And in my case, it was pretty special because I came from backend
Mm-hmm.
development. Even in university, I was not a fan of front-end development at all. So I didn't like it. And whenever we had a project and we were doing backend and front-end, I was always, let me do the backend and you take
Mm-hmm.
care of the front-end so that I don't have to deal with this. So during university, for me, JavaScript has always been this script kiddie language, and Java was like rock solid, and there I could write
Yeah.
unit tests and could do the things. So therefore, I was really focused on Java and didn't want to do any front end. And then actually, I started my first job as a junior developer, where I started in a big enterprise project.
Mm-hmm.
And in that enterprise project, it's usually like this: if you start as a junior, you get like one senior developer which takes care of you. And we called this the Godfather. So I had there like my Godfather, and basically, instead of my project manager wanted that my Godfather helps me getting started in that huge Java code base.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, yeah, you can still spend a lot of time on that code base, but I have this super cool tool on the side, which is written in AngularJS. I want you to work on that
Okay.
because it's a super cool new technology and you can also get familiarized with the business. It's a support tool. Like, why not work on that? And I was not so happy with this initially because I wanted to get my hands on the code base.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started to develop this AngularJS application. And suddenly in the beginning, it was a bit painful because I had no idea what dollar scope is, what the MVC model is, like all that stuff was so new. But then I really liked it. I was changing something. It was immediately reloading. It was pretty amazing. It was not like this JSF stuff that I knew.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I wanted to dive deeper into JavaScript because it was so exciting. So basically, for me, the long story short is like I didn't start with JavaScript and then went to Angular or AngularJS. So AngularJS brought me to JavaScript, kind of like this. And then, of course, when I knew that AngularJS now is kind of end of life and Angular is coming out,
Yes.
it was clear that I will move to Angular and start with Angular because it's a huge opportunity if you basically there are no Angular developers around with 5 years experience because the frameworks exist since 2 months. So as a junior, you could really, fill that gap of lacking experience because I could never compete with all the experience that the seniors in Java had. But then in Angular, somehow I was there from the get-go.
Okay. Okay, so Kevin, someone, let's say if someone wants to start their career into Angular in year 2025, so what few piece of advice would you like to share with them, like how they can start? Because you also shifted from another domain to another one, right? You adopt the
Mhm.
technology in a very less time. So what are your thoughts on it? Like how they can start in 2025?
So basically, I would say if you are coming, depends a bit from where you are coming from. If you're
Yes.
coming from university and you don't have any background, or if you're coming from a classic enterprise environment and you already had, like I had, like Java background, it's a bit of
Mm-hmm.
different requirements. But basically, the cool thing is, I would say just start with the Angular CLI, start with a small project, just start building, start exploring. Now, also in the age of AI, I would recommend try to use AI to explain stuff and help you get
Yes.
going, but not like write the feature for me and I have no idea what is done. So I would kind of choose
Correct.
some approach like this, really start building. I wouldn't spend too much time in tutorials. I would really try to get like some hands-on experience. Start building a small admin tool or some small tool that helps you with something. And yeah, I think I would really provide a hands-on approach.
Hands-on approach, yeah, I'm completely agree. Like if someone try to do their thing by their own even if it is a very small project, still it will help them, and they can adopt the things in a very less time if they are doing it practically, because learning a thing is bit different and doing it actually, because at the end, like we have to take care of the projects, we have to deal with the lives issues on the project. So if you have a practical knowledge, for sure, like it will be very beneficial for us. Yes.
Yeah, and I also think I would kind of start building something and then go from there. Like then you build something and you face a problem and then you want to dive deeper into that problem and you explore more about the framework and framework. I don't think it's a good approach to just learn everything up front and then now I'm ready and now I can build. I think it's an incremental approach where you upfront learn some stuff, you learn, you build, and you continue like this.
Correct. Right. Okay. And Kevin, if we talk about your journey, so another thing that through which you are providing your expertise to the community is is NPM packages. So you
Mhm.
contribute to and maintain multiple NPM packages. So could you please tell us a bit about your work with the NPM packages, like what all things you have delivered so far and how it is benefiting us as an Angular developer?
Yeah, so I've created, I think, about 30 npm packages or something, which received totally over 4 million downloads. Or so it's
Mm-hmm.
a pretty crazy number if I think about it, because
Yes.
some of my npm packages are used in some companies all over the world, and I develop them here in my small little home office or even on my couch. So that's pretty crazy to think about. But yeah, so I think this experience was pretty cool for me because I started developing some small helper tool where I sometimes even for something I used at work or something I thought is just something I'm excited about. And the cool thing is I started to develop some of those libraries, like SVG2TS is a pretty known library.
Yes.
And then I gained contributors and started to build a small community around this library and got in contact with all other developers around the world. And together we made those libraries better. And I
Okay.
think that was a really, really nice experience, I would say, just to get in contact with the community. And then also, yeah, as I said, it's just cool to share my code with others. And
Yes.
then also, I had this case with SVG2TS, so that's a library which basically transform SVG icons into JavaScript files in such a way that it's perfectly tree shakeable. So because imagine if you are a library author and you deliver a Angular library, and then a consumer uses an icon from that library, you only want to give him that one icon and not 200 icons. And that requires actually quite some technical setup on the JS level, and we also deliver type definitions. But yeah, there we had the case where I was developing this library, and then some company, I don't know where it was, had some special use case which I couldn't even imagine of,
Yeah.
and then those guys contributed back to the library. And so basically, they were winning because they got the initial code. We were winning because we got their fixes, and it
Modify
was
code.
pretty cool experience. So I think that's just nice to just have some piece of code and just put it out there and everybody can use it and contribute to it.
Okay. All right. And Kevin, like whenever we talk about the Angular development, so one thing is common is tool, because everyone is using their own tools
Mhm.
to make the project smoothly and in less time. So when like if someone asks you to share your core tools or the things that you think that are essential for the Angular development, then what are those tools that you often use for your development process?
Mhm. So, of course, one of the most essential tool for me is the Angular CLI. So
Yes.
CLI stands for the command line interface. That's basically getting you started, scaffolding the whole project. Because I remember back in the days, I was in a stack team at a company where
Mm-hmm.
we had, and there was no Angular CLI, so that was still an Angular JS day. And there
Okay.
was some tool like Yeoman, I think it was called, and then you had to build the stack still with Gulp. You had to configure Gulp or Grunt yourself and use all those tools. So basically, you had like a stack tool who was provide or a stack team who was kind of doing the Angular CLI
Mm-hmm.
for your company, kind of. And nowadays, the Angular CLI is so cool because you can just run one command and it's always up to date. And yeah, it scaffolds the whole project for you. So that's an essential tool that you use whenever you start a project. You use the Angular CLI also for updating projects from one Angular version to the next one.
Yes.
That's an essential tool. Then, of course, another essential tool for me are some sort of dev tools because you write some client code means debugging often happens in the browser.
Yes.
And then it's not just debugging, it's also performance profiling, reading Lighthouse reports, or sometimes even just hacking around with the CSS tooling or stuff like that. Therefore, for me, the Chrome DevTools, Chrome is the browser of choice for me, but I think Firefox DevTools are also pretty good. Uh, then, what else could I think of? A good editor, of course. So
Okay.
everybody needs a good code editor.
Yes.
I know most people like VS Code. Some people also like, I think it's what is it? Cursor these days. I don't use Cursor. I generally don't use. I use AI a bit. I use some Copilot,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not using it. Yeah, I'm using it a bit just for auto completion and so, but I'm not generating out features with AI. Yeah, so I use WebStorm there. For me, that's just the best editor that is available out there because it has some amazing refactoring tools
Okay.
and just the whole integration. Also, when I started, I feel when I start VS Code, I feel like I'm in this. Yeah, I have to install a lot of plugins. So you start VS Code and then you
Extensions.
have to
Yeah.
install this plugin and that plugin. And with WebStorm, I just start WebStorm and it's all pre-configured. It's nice. I can start working, focus on the project. For me, WebStorm. And yeah, the last thing is more like a real. I mean, those are all personal things, but I think
Mm-hmm.
the CLI and the Chrome DevTools is a must for everybody. Good
Yes.
editor as well. There are different choices in good editor. But the last thing is really highly opinionated. And for me, that's Vim.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Vim is also an editor, but you can also, I don't go fully Vim. I use WebStorm with an emulated Vim inside. And I personally cannot develop without Vim because it's just, yeah, it's just so easy to work with it. So smooth, like the Vim motions are such a great thing to write code, to refactor code. It's like live scripting almost. But maybe if somebody is listening that is coming out of university or is a junior or generally anybody that has never worked with
Gotcha.
Vim, it has a learning curve. So it's not like if you want to learn it, it will be worth it. I guarantee you, if you take the steep hill, the steep learning curve, it will be worth it, but it will require some weeks to
Yes.
really learn it. Yeah.
Okay. Now we will talk bit about your another exposure as a coach, because you have
Mm-hmm.
been actively involved in this IT industry as a coach also. You have mentored so many students and IT professional in, and you have helped them by guiding them in order to help them to pursue their career. So what do you think? Like, what are the top three technical skill you focus on when you are mentoring intermediate to advanced Angular developers? Like, what are those three qualities that you think that you mostly focus on?
So we are speaking about intermediate to advanced. So
Yes.
I guess they are familiar with all the beginner stuff and so on.
Right.
So then what we usually focus on is, of course, RxJS in depth, a bit more like what are the different RxJS
Mhm.
operators, what is the difference between switch map, merge map, exhaust map, and so on. Then also now, of course, in modern Angular, we will focus on signals. We will
Yes.
focus on the interpolation packages from RxJS to signals, the computed signals, effects, how to use all those things. And then probably we will also speak about change detection, because that's then also important to really understand why we need signals, what are the benefits, what are the different strategies that you can use on component level, like on push, default. Yeah, I think change detection is a bigger thing. And then I think if we are really, so in our workshops, we also lay a lot of focus on having nice architecture,
Mhm.
because we think that if you are intermediate to advanced, that means you are usually somewhere in a professional or senior position, and you probably also guide a bit the direction of the project. And I think having a clean architecture is essential to have like a long lasting project where the whole team, where multiple developers contribute, so that the success, that basically the project will be a success. I think if it to be successful, you have to have clean architecture and clean
Correct.
rules, I think. And that's also why we focus there. And then also, those were the main three ones, but with architecture also comes a bit how to structure code. Like, if you want to share something, do we split it in libraries, or what is the right approach? Is a monorepo maybe the right approach for you? Understanding the different concepts and the trade-offs. And then also tree shaking of code, of course.
Yes. Okay. And Kevin, like you often do workshop and conferences for the tech experts, right? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think? Like, what are those common topic that you enjoy while speaking about the most? So, like, because you have presented at many conferences as well as workshops. So, what is the one topic that is close to your heart and that you really enjoy while delivering with the audience?
Mm-hmm. So generally, I mean, this is a bit of a lame answer, but I generally enjoy all of them, because usually
Yes.
I do not speak about topics if I'm not
Interested.
if
Yeah.
enthusiastic about them. I feel like if I'm not passionate about the topic, I don't speak about it, because it takes away from the presentation, and the audience can feel that this is not something that the speaker is excited about.
Correct.
But lately, it's mainly Angular signals. So this is something that I really like. I really like how signals reshaped how you write Angular, and this is the topic that I really enjoy at the moment.
Okay, so Angular Signal is something that you often more focus, or maybe which is very close to your heart, because I'm completely agree. Like, if you are presenting something on either on a conference or workshop, that is obviously like your core expertise, and you want to deliver it with the audience. But the topic like signals is something that is comparatively that is close to your heart, and that you often love to share with audience, because this is one of the advanced topic for the Angular, right? So if they are able to understand the signals, then it would be, yeah, it is beneficial for them as well. All right.
Mm.
So, as a GD, also, like Kevin, you have been involved in so many amazing work. So, could you please share like what recent projects or maybe the talks you have delivered as a part of GDE program, and like, is there any particular project that for which currently you are working on and that we can see in the upcoming years?
Yes, so recently I've been pretty excited about, as I said, I'm excited about signals. So
Yes.
I wrote quite some content about it. And at some point, I decided to write a book about Angular signals.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, writing a book is like, on one hand, it's a cool experience, because you really dive deep into a topic that you are excited about. But also, writing a book is like a lot of work, which
Yes.
takes a lot of time. So there was also a time where I was like, okay, now I want to finish the book, and it got longer and longer and longer, and now it's around 200 and something pages.
Okay.
um, because it required a lot. I wanted to really cover signals, not just like the API level, but
Mm-hmm.
really give the readers a deep understanding of what signals are. So I did like quite some hours researching the Angular source code, debugging stuff there, and then trying my best to visualize those complex concepts, like how signals work under the hood with some graphics so that people can understand it. I hope we have done a good job there. So that's something that I'm pretty excited about. Then also the angularexperts.io page. So that's a page that I'm building together with Thomas, another GD, where we publish all of our blogs and also videos, services, and so on. Some small products, also like the book.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then in terms of projects, I recently built two things which I am most excited about. One is Hawkeye,
Okay.
which is a free tool that you can use to analyze your JavaScript bundles. So in the past, whenever you were writing Angular application, it was using Webpack under the hood, and you got like an output. You got a bundle as an output, and sometimes it was important, especially in bigger enterprise projects, to analyze those bundles.
Okay.
And now Angular decided to switch to ES build. So Webpack, there was the Webpack bundle visualizer. So yeah, that was the name, which allowed you to visualize those bundles, and it was pretty good. But now Angular switched to ES build, and now I think there are two tools: ES build visualizer and another one which I both didn't like so much. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought we need something as a community. So I provided Hawkeye, and that was a pretty fun project to do. It was also pretty complex because it had like a lot of recursion. I had to write some recursive algorithms. And then also on the UI level, there were quite some challenges. I developed actually quite a lot of it on stream live. So that was also a fun experience because when you stream, you connect with the community, but also there is not this perfect video that you just put out there. You have to be
Yes.
comfortable with people seeing you struggle. So you write code, right? And there will be the point where you have like no idea, you don't know what the bug is, and you will debug for like an hour and
Correct.
yeah, that's what it is. And that was a cool project. And yeah, then the last one where I'm also excited about is SkullSnap. So
Mm-hmm.
as I previously said, I use WebStorm to write my code, but I was never fully satisfied with the way or with the theming in WebStorm, like the look and feel of the editor. And for me, it was missing the ideal code theme. So I went ahead and created my own code theme there. And then I thought, okay, hey, I like this code theme a lot. And I also share quite a lot of code on Twitter or X. And when I share code on X, I really wanted to share it in the Skull theme. With the Skull theme. So I went ahead and built SkullSnap, which is also a free tool on skullsnap.com. And it's basically a tool where you can just paste your code and export an image and then just share it with the
Okay.
community. And yeah, that's a pretty cool tool. I like that.
Okay. And Kevin, you just mentioned about the books. So is it published? Like how user can buy those books? Is it available on Amazon or any other particular portal there?
Yeah, it's currently published on Gumroad, and you can also download the Amazon. You can download this as a PDF or as an
Okay.
ebook, basically for Amazon. But the easiest way to, if you are interested in the books that we provide, so there is my book, and Thomas also has written a great book about architecture,
Mm-hmm.
or generally the articles that are all free. Go to angularexperts.io, and there you will find everything, like all the products, blogs, and everything.
Okay. All right. Fine. Okay, so now we will talk a bit about AI because nowadays everyone is talking about AI. So in the
Yeah.
era of AI, what you think as a Java enthusiast, like what's the current take of current state of the language JavaScript and its ecosystem? So is it impacting with the rise of AI, or how you look at the impact of AI into JavaScript?
Yeah. So I think AI will generally impact how we write code, how we develop, right?
Yes.
Um, so it's already impacting it today. And I don't know what the effect, if there's a special effect on JavaScript. I think that will be the same effect on all the other programming languages. I don't see that JavaScript gets like a crazier effect than Java, for example. I think the effect is almost the same everywhere.
Yes.
But yeah, the AI in general is, how to say, I really love using it, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
also super glad that I'm not starting right now. Yeah, that I had this time before AI. Basically, that's what I try to
Correct.
say, because
Yes.
I think also if somebody is listening that is fresh out of university or so, I think I would recommend you using AI because it's not going away and you should use it, but still you should really understand the concepts and learn it yourself. Don't
Correct.
hand off that whole thing to AI so that you just prompt and you became a prompter, because then I think if you became a prompter, you just limit yourself what the AI is capable of.
Right.
So if there's a point where the AI cannot do it, you are lost.
Yes.
And therefore, I think it's super important to see AI as a tool that helps you, but you are still in the driver's seat. As Copilot in the name says, you are in the driver and he's your Copilot.
Copilot.
I think don't use AI at the cost of learning. That's what I kind of try to say, because I think it's still important to really understand what you are doing. Also, AI is not always spitting out good code, right? So you really have to research that code that AI is generating. And yeah, I try to use it in a daily basis, and it works great for this boilerplate code where you just have like stuff that is written over and over on the internet. For example, a good example is NGRX, where you have
Mm-hmm.
your reducers, and it's basically always the same, just for your context. And then AI is great because you do not have to type so much. But then for other stuff that is a bit more complex, it requires a bit deeper knowledge about the project, how pieces connect. Then
Yes.
AI is kind of useless at the moment. I would not completely useless, but yeah, for me, I haven't been able to solve such a task with just AI, and I think I would even be slower. So for me, it's like a glorified autocomp. It's now that I think about that, I speak about it, and I think about it. It's not like autocomplete like we have in ID. It's more like a thought complete. I see AI currently as a thought complete.
Correct. Yeah, and I'm also agree with this thing. Like if you have this started with the technology, and if you are using AI to build your project, then for sure like you will be ending up become a prompter, not a good developer. But if you know the basics, if you know the syntax and structure thoroughly, then you are for sure be considered as expert or a developer who know how to. Then once you are comfortable with the thing, then maybe you can utilize AI to make your project more efficient. But yeah, always start with a scratch and basic thing first, and then you can take advantages of AI related tools. So this is one of the
Mhm.
best advice you have just shared with the audience.
Cool.
Okay, so Kevin, like behind every successful developer, or maybe I would say the person, there is a network of support. So for you,
Mhm.
who has been that support? Like who were those key people in your life, they who has supported you throughout your journey so far?
Yeah, so of course, my family, who always had my back, my wonderful girlfriend, who stood by me in good and bad times and supported me always. So, big shout out to them. But that was more like on the personal level, that you keep going.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, that you have somebody to talk about. But then, of course, there are a lot of people in the personal, in the professional sphere. So, for example, I was quite lucky, as I said. I started as a backend developer, then I got this
Yes.
godfather, and he was so open-minded, and he saw, hey, there's this new cool AngularJS, which is probably a new cool thing. Java is here since quite some time, and it will probably stay more or less the same. But here is like, this is cool. Um, and there is this new developer, so why don't I give him the chance to work there?
Mhm.
Even though he probably got some heat from the project manager. But so a big thank you for him, because without him, I wouldn't have entered the front end path, which I really like, and I'm so thankful for that. And then also I had like some bosses at that first job, which actually were encouraging me to make the step to go freelance, to quit my job, to say, now I'm self-employed. I go and I freelance. And because he could easily have said, no, don't do that. That's super risky. It's super
Yeah.
dangerous. But he was really encouraging me because I was a bit afraid of doing this.
Right.
Because I had a job that I like, and then just quitting a job that you like and going like, I'm now freelancing here. It's not so easy. And he was really encouraging me in the days and was giving me like confidence. If something doesn't work, you can always come back. And that was really helpful. And then once I started this freelance journey, of course, I became the mindset changed a bit because you do not work for a company, you work for yourself, which I think is a bit of different mindset. And then also a big thank you to Thomas Trajan. If you search him up, he's also the Google developer expert. He was Google developer expert before me, and he is he's a good friend of mine now, and he is one of the most talented engineers I've ever worked with.
Okay.
And he was super important on my path because basically what he did, he encouraged me to not only to publish my work,
Okay.
to publish articles, to do open source, all that stuff. Because initially I was super afraid, like I had written a blog post because I saw blog posts a bit as I figure out so many cool things that work, so why don't I write them down? Because often after 3 weeks, I don't remember. So it's cool if I have like this list of cool stuff that I figured out. But I was always like, yeah, maybe I publish it, but if I publish it, hopefully nobody sees it because somebody could criticize it. And I was really like hesitate to publish out work. And Thomas was like, no, do it. You will get feedback, you will get better, you will interact with the community. And taking away this fear from me was like so important on my way, also on the way of becoming a GD, of course.
Okay. Yeah, so like this kind of support is for sure help us to be a person that is contributing for the industry, because you have that kind of support that not only like you can focus more on your work and your day-to-day activities that is delivering for everyone. So thanks to all each and every person who have helped you in your journey. And
Yeah.
yeah, and Kevin, like we are running short on time, but before concluding this discussion, I would like to ask my last question, which is again related to one of your hobby, because we can also see it behind your wall that you are a
Yeah.
big fan of Real Madrid. So, and we also noticed that you often mention Real Madrid in your posts. So, how has football influenced your work and mindset as a developer?
Yeah. So I'm a Real Madrid fan since I was a little kid. So supporting them in the era of Zidane, Ronaldo, of course. Yeah, but I've not only been a fan of football, I also played football at a
Okay.
good level actually. So I had like during this period a lot of trainings. We trained like 4 or 5 times a week with our team, and I think generally, even though I didn't make it to football professional, unfortunately, I think I learned a lot for life during football. In the time I played football, because you learn how to behave in a team, you learn discipline, you learn how to connect with others. You also learn how to deal with losses and with
Yes.
setbacks, because there will be times where it's hard, where it's like you will lose something, then the trainer is not happy, the team is not happy, then you go out, it's raining, it's super cold, it's like, yeah, so
Correct.
you will deal with some adversity. And I think those things you can also take into development life, because I think developing is an amazing job, but there are also days where you win and where you lose. So there are days where you go to work and you chase a bug and you cannot figure out, and it's super complicated. And in the evening you go home and you think like, today I lost because I have no idea where this bug comes from. It's all broken. Like, but then you have, as in football, you stand up, next day you go and you chase that bug and you fix it. And
Correct.
then it's kind of those approaches I think are super important.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Kevin, for joining us in this episode and for sharing
Mm-hmm.
so much information regarding the Angular and the best practices for Angular. So thank you once
Mm-hmm.
again for being a
Thanks for
part of
having
this.
me. And also thanks for doing this podcast.
Th-
That's a great resource for developers.
Thanks.